Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? More energy. This is a celebration. All right. I want to welcome everyone to the Bagwell College of Education's inaugural pinning and honor ceremony. My name is Jabari Kane, and I am the current Student Development and Awards Committee Chair. I am also a faculty member in the School of Instructional Technology and Innovation. It is indeed an honor to be here today amongst such a special group of individuals, and to also be your Master of Ceremonies. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. For my honorees, I would like you to briefly look around the Bailey Performance Center, just briefly. And you'll notice that all your classmates are not here. This is another indication of how special this ceremony is. You were selected by the Bagwell College of Education's faculty based on your academic performance, personal growth, and perseverance. Again, this is a special honor. You'll see me throughout the program, and my job is to keep things moving. With that being said, it is a pleasure to introduce the Dean of the Bagwell College of Education, Dr. Adrian Epps.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to see you and to help celebrate this very special occasion, the inaugural Bagwell College pinning and honor ceremony. The purpose of this is a representative/symbolic space to think of bringing you formally into the profession, particularly those of you who are finishing your initial certification, either undergraduate degree or the Master of Arts in Teaching degree. Simultaneously, we're celebrating those practicing educators who came back to seek an advanced degree, to continue within the profession and to thrive. For the Bagwell College, we put you into two broad categories: educators of tomorrow, and as of officially tomorrow, those of you who are graduating with your undergraduate degree or the MAT, you will transition over to educators of today. That's our focus in supporting and engaging with you in a very intentional way. We will not stop engaging with you after you go across that stage tomorrow. And we expect you to continue to engage with us. So this ceremony, dubbed a pinning ceremony, is just a symbolic gesture of bringing you officially into this profession that we love so dearly. I want to thank all of you for being here, for making the sacrifices. I had a chance to talk to several of our graduate students in the back who actually were able to leave school and make it over here just in time. So I thank your leaders for giving you that particular honor and privilege. I'd like to bring back up Dr. Kane to introduce our president of a club that we called Educators of Tomorrow.
Thank you, Dean. Gracie Prue is an elementary education major who just completed her first year. She is the brand ambassador and a recipient of the President's List. Gracie is also the current president of the Educators of Tomorrow organization, and I present to you Gracie Prue.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Dr. Osman Khan serves as a Support and Services Administrator for the Cobb County School District. He currently resides in Canton, Georgia with his wife and newborn son. After graduating from high school in 2007, he enrolled at Kennesaw State University, where he spent his early days as a pre-med student doing everything in his power to avoid labs. As an escape, he took various courses in computer science, and in 2010, he found his way to the KSU English department, where he acquired strong mentors and people who believed in him. In 2012, Dr. Khan graduated with his bachelor's degree in English education. After acquiring a position with Cobb County Schools as a special education teacher, he immediately began taking graduate-level courses at KSU to learn how to better serve students with disabilities. In March of 2020, during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, he successfully defended his dissertation with the aid of a powerhouse doctoral committee. His qualitative research study explored the experiences and conceptions of 15 middle grade students with disabilities surrounding school discipline and PBIS implementation. His work indicates that many students with disabilities in one Title I middle school desired calm learning environments that offered freedom, play, and opportunities to engage in dialogue for reconciliation. At this time, he desires to grow as a district leader, advocating on behalf of families and students with disabilities to ensure that all students in special education have access to high-leverage practices, specialized instruction, and supportive aids and accommodations within the least restrictive environment. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Osman Khan.
Gosh, she's told you guys everything about me. So I was told recently that I'd be doing this keynote address, and so I thought to myself, how exciting. And I looked at the program, and I saw all these names, and I started immediately seeing familiar names. And then I started thinking about all the people that believed in me when I was just a young undergraduate student, graduate student, and then in my doctoral program. March 19th, 2020, I was supposed to report to the Bagwell College of Education, room 444, to defend the dissertation that we were just talking about. But, it was COVID-19 shutdown, so I never made it there, but I did make it behind my laptop, just like everyone else, on Zoom, and I successfully defended my dissertation. I wore a nicely pressed button-up shirt, a nice cardigan, and I was in my boxer shorts. So in 2021, they weren't able to host an event like this, and so I was a little bummed out. But guess what happened? Dr. Epps and my dissertation chair, Dr. Driver, actually came to Lewis Elementary and gave me the award in person. And that was a very, it was like, holy, I did do something here, because I didn't really walk when I was supposed to walk. And it was just a humbling experience when they just showed up. They looked so professional, and I felt super cool walking them around the building. I took them to my program unit, low incidence classrooms. They met students. They met my teachers. They met my building principal, my administrator, and we took a photo. And then immediately I went to my office, and I opened my laptop, and I opened up my email, and I sent them an email, like a sappy email. I don't know. I just get caught in the feels sometimes, and just told them how much I appreciated them coming and how much it meant to me. So I do need to talk a little bit about mentorship and those that have helped all of us come to where we are today. And for me, it started out in 2007. So in 2007, by the way, I'm a product of Kennesaw. I went to Lewis Elementary School, where I'm now a support service administrator, full circle. Don't know how that happened. It just happened, and it's pretty interesting because if you go to the library, you'll find in the 99-2000 yearbook, there's a picture of me in a Pokemon shirt with my deck of cards with a thumbs up. And I went looking for it like the day I got hired in the building. I said hi to the librarian, shook his hand. I was like, where are your yearbooks? Found the yearbooks, and I started looking for myself, and it was also another humbling experience. So I had a high school teacher named Nicole Jaquish, and for some reason they placed me in advanced composition. And I went to the class like, hey, I'm really not supposed to be here. I'm thinking to myself, I am not cut out for this. I went to her immediately and said, hey, I'm not supposed to be in here. She looked at me, she had these glasses, and she said to me, you're exactly where you need to be. It's because of her I learned to read critically. I learned to annotate text. I learned to really make sense of what I was reading. I learned to slow down, analyze characters, read books like Heart of Darkness, Things Fall Apart, did a character analysis of Othello, and then I analyzed myself as a senior. So she believed in me. She could have easily looked up my reading inventory score and looked at my Lexile and said, yo, you're not supposed to be in here, but she let me stay. And I don't think I'd be here if she had done differently. And so that's my first experience with a powerful mentor. As soon as I graduated, like it was just said, I started at Kennesaw immediately. I don't know why I started in the summer. I should have gone on a vacation. A lot of my friends were going to UGA. They were going to, Ole Miss, going to Southern. And I was just, I'm just Kennesaw, living with my parents, which was probably a good thing. And I used to longboard campus loop all the way down to the parking lots between classes. I used to cut through the parking lot to the science building through this shoddy little nature trail that wasn't really supposed to be a nature trail, but here I am, like a teenager, just walking to class through the woods. One time I got pulled over by campus PD. I used to drive a 2001 Mitsubishi Eclipse GT. I thought it was really cool, I used to set off car alarms on the parking deck because it was that loud. And I was, it was just finished class. I'm going to head home, go to the pool, hang out with the friends. No. It was like Fast and the Furious. Cops came from there, from behind me, and this woman walked out, tapped on my window, and I was like, hello. She was like, you were speeding. I was like, no, I wasn't. I wasn't speeding. My car is just loud. So they had me go to the parking deck and drive the speed limit, and guess what? Car alarms were going off. So I sold that car immediately. Oh, man, I was just thinking to myself, when I started here, there was like 19,000 students. Yeah, and now there's almost 40,000 students. And it was just something I was thinking about in the shower this morning while my baby was crying. And I was like, my wife is, amazing. She's right over there. And I thought to myself, a huge amount of growth in a decade's worth of time. When I was a student, as an undergrad, we didn't have the commons. We didn't have all you can eat from all around the world. What we had was a sketchy crystals inside of the student center. And they had pizza as well. There was like a little conveyor belt and large slices of pizza just came, and you were like, this is great. And I used to eat a lot of pizza and crystals. That was it. I know some of you guys remember that. It was a strange time to be alive on campus. So I said that we're growing large, and with that, we have a huge responsibility, not only as a department serving education, but we also have responsibility in making sure that our undergraduate students that enter the classroom are prepared for the realities that they'll face. And right now, students have a wide array of needs, and it could be because of COVID, it could be because of technology, social media, a number of reasons. But really, what you need to remember is all students simply just want to be appreciated, they want to be acknowledged, they want structure, they want discipline, they don't want to be yelled at, and they don't want to go to ISS. My mentors in the building, Dr. Joya Carter-Hicks, Dr. Tristan Glenn, Dr. Melissa Driver, Dr. Yvonne, who graciously rescued me when I had 200 pages of a dissertation that just was all over the place. And I asked myself, how the heck am I going to make this happen? And if you Google hopscotch model, you're going to find a very simple to use framework that will allow you to input your design and methodology, your research questions, everything, and it will spit out this beautiful graphical visual representation of your entire study. And without that, I don't think I would have finished my study. I really don't. So I thank you, Dr. Yvonne, for your efforts. It was because of all of you that I had the courage, the knowledge, and confidence in 2019 to perform a phenomenographical study. That's a fancy word. All that really means is hours and hours of data from interviews that have to be transcribed and analyzed. That's really what that means. In my study, I explored, as was mentioned, school discipline experiences of 15 students with disabilities. I was able to uncover that they wanted three main things. They wanted calm learning environments, as was mentioned before, opportunities for freedom and play, and dialogue for reconciliation. That's a big one. What I was seeing as a young special ed teacher, all through my experience, was this out of sight, out of mind mentality from teachers. They would hit the button, the admin would come in, take the kid out. No one wanted to follow where the kid's going. But I'll tell you where they're going. They're either going to drop out or they're going to end up engaging in deviant activities. Their academic learning is going to decrease. Their social emotional growth is also going to be hugely negatively impacted. And so for those of you entering buildings in the fall, really keep in mind that there are alternatives to punitive school discipline measures. Google restorative practices, mindfulness, social emotional learning is a big one. High leverage practices, which is the vehicle to actually deliver instruction that provides students with powerful, constructive feedback on various domains. All right. Today, as was mentioned before, I do serve as a support service administrator for Cobb County Schools. There's about 60 of us in the district, and basically I have one of the greatest jobs in the world. I'm charged with ensuring compliance for special education in 2 buildings. I serve around 150 students with disabilities, ranging from special needs preschool, which has been the most amazing experience for me, especially now being a new father with a 2-month-old Eli right there sleeping because his belly's full of his mother's milk, and he's not going to wake up, I promise. He's not going to wake up for another 30 minutes. I assist with about 7 program units that serve low-incidence students with disabilities that range from mild, moderate, to severe intellectual disabilities, and low to high spectrum students with autism. I lead about 20 special education teachers, including paraprofessionals. I report directly to the Assistant Director of Special Education. I regularly collaborate with 2 building principals that are pretty awesome, 3 assistant principals, 2 front office secretaries, 4 grade level department leads, 3 speech language pathologists, instructional specialists, behavior specialists, and a large number of fellow SSAs. I facilitate RTI meetings, which, if you don't know, that's the gateway to special education for students. I write positive support plans when I get an email that Johnny just can't sit in his desk and that Corey just keeps having outbursts and will disrupt their learning environment. I perform formal observations of students throughout the week for those with potential prospective disabilities. I support with the FBA process, which is functional behavior assessment, which is the preliminary doorway to writing a behavior intervention plan for a student that sticks with them in their individual education plan as they progress through education. I hope I'm not boring you guys. I assist with reviewing IEPs, serving as a local educational agency. Sometimes I'm in meetings with advocates, and it can get a little sketchy. But the number one thing that I do, that I love to do, that makes me want to just keep going, is I get to visit classrooms and work with students. And it's almost like being a grandparent with kids. I get to go in, kind of just sit next to a random kid, watch what they're doing. I don't really look at the teachers too much, not really. I just look at what the students are doing. And that's what I really charge any leader in a building to do, is go in classrooms, be present, and work directly with students. Get to know the instruction, the curriculum, and just spend time in small groups working with students in classrooms. And you're going to learn very quickly about the teacher's pedagogy and where they need to probably receive feedback. And so for a support service administrator, I'm not an evaluator. I'm simply a support person in the building from the district. And so it's very easy for me to build trust with teachers and students. You got to make an intentional effort as a leader in a building to visit students and teachers, because you do get bogged down in the mornings with emails, like 50, 60 emails. You prioritize, flag them, you read drafts, but sometimes you just got to close that screen and walk away. And I think that's the best part of my job. Today, we're very fortunate. Among us are future teachers prepared to enter classrooms in the fall. We have leaders that will be and are in roles of school leadership, such as administrators and principals. We have former teachers, building leaders now serving in higher education. And we have individuals that have, of course, gone above and beyond. That's why we're here right now. My attention goes to 7 individuals right here in this room that are undoubtedly going to change the lives of young people starting in the fall. You'll find the teaching jobs you want, I promise. And don't listen to the media and the news. It's not chaotic. It's not wild. You're needed. So please give a round of applause to the undergraduate honorees that range from the arts, education, early childhood education, middle grades education, and mathematics. Let's also give a round of applause to the 19 graduate level honorees. And while driving here, I thought of some things I wanted to say, so just give me a second. I got a notes app. Here's my advice. For school leaders, delegate responsibilities very intentionally. Take responsibility and lead by example. It's okay for your staff to struggle sometimes. And it's okay to clean up after they make mistakes. You just pick up the pieces. Identify potential teacher leaders in your building and invest your time and energy into them. Have critical conversations because they're needed. And sometimes it's uncomfortable to do, but it's very needed right now. Stay self-reflective, inspire others, and engage in self-care. Thank you. I wrote another dissertation right here. So.
Thank you, Dr. Khan, for the wonderful keynote. All right, next on our agenda, I'm going to introduce Tristan Glenn, who I've personally known for many years, who is the director of the Call Me Mr. program here at KSU. He is an associate professor in special education. Tristan Glenn.
Greetings and good evening. I am excited to be here in my capacity as the director of the Call Me Mr. program here at Kennesaw State University in the Bagwell College of Education. Call Me Mr. is a national program. It is an educator development and mentorship program that is geared towards the recruitment, development, and retention of young men of color who aspire to be educators. The program is critically important, and since 2000, we report a 98% retention rate of all men who complete the program. But in spite of that work, there's still much more work to be achieved, as currently, only 2% of our teaching population is representative of young men of color. This year, we officially launched and inducted our inaugural cohort, and we've been fortunate to have our first graduate through the process. Mr. Cameron Barron, will you come forward? Upon graduation, the Misters are presented with the Call Me Mr. Blazer. The Call Me Mr. Blazer symbolizes supreme achievement by the Mister who owns it. It is presented to the Mister who has accomplished the goal of completing his academic program of study, leading to a teaching credential. It is presented to the Mister who has met the ideals and objectives of the program's co-curriculum, which includes strong manhood development, personal empowerment, leadership, responsibility, service, and focus on the success principles. The Call Me Mr. Blazer symbolizes the highest honor bestowed upon a Mister for his persistence, dedication, commitment, and endurance in completing a task. The blazer should be worn with great pride and carries with it the enormous responsibility of setting an example as a role model for others, especially young people. The blazer represents the value of completing a goal and is to be worn by the Mister on the first day and the last day of his induction year as a teacher. And with that purpose, I am honored to present the Call Me Mr. Blazer to Mr. Cameron Barron.
Congratulations again. All right, so for our next part of our program, we are going to move on to honor our Bagwell College of Education scholars. And so, first of all, I'm Dr. Melissa Driver, and I'm an Interim Associate Dean for Quality Enhancement and also an Associate Professor of Special Education. We're so excited for all of you to graduate tomorrow, and we are thrilled to be here today to celebrate all of you and also to honor our individuals who have been selected for the Bagwell Scholars. So they are sitting over here to the left side of the stage. If we could go ahead and give them a hand real quick. So a little bit about this group. Every year, faculty in our college select an outstanding student from each program as the Bagwell Scholar. This is based on a variety of things, such as distinguished achievements, including an exceptional GPA, notable accomplishments in extracurricular, civic, or professional activities. And then part of this tradition is that each of our scholars select a faculty member as their honoree, as someone who has encouraged their professional growth and inspired their passion for education. Dr. Khan talked about how important that mentorship is, and we agree. Today, we have the privilege of recognizing our scholars. So we'll do this in 3 waves. We'll start with those who are receiving a bachelor's degree, then we'll move on to a master's, and then our specialists and doctorates. So if you are receiving an award today, one of our Bagwell Scholars, and you are graduating with an undergraduate degree, if you could go ahead and stand up and line up over on this side of the stage. And if you are their faculty honoree, if you could come line up over here, and we will begin to present the awards. So when I call your name, you'll come to meet Dean Epps, receive your certificate and award, and have your picture taken. Our very first Bagwell Scholar today is Melissa Mandato, and she is the Bagwell Scholar for the Bachelor's of Science in Art Education program, and she selected Miss Anita Birch as her faculty honoree. Neither of them could be here today because they are currently at the College of Arts commencement ceremony, and so we wish them well there. Our next Bagwell Scholar is Susan Marie Henry Rodney, and she is the Bagwell Scholar for the Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education, Birth through Kindergarten program, and she selected Dr. Douglas Bell as her faculty honoree. So if you could come forward. And please make sure you get your gift as you leave the stage too. Those are important. So our early childhood education program is actually so large that we have 3 honorees to recognize. The next one is Dara Shippey. She is one of the Bagwell Scholars for the Bachelor's of Science in Early Childhood Education, pre-kindergarten through 5th grade program. And she selected Dr. Tricia Fraser as her faculty honoree. Our next honoree is Naya Patel, and she is the Bagwell Scholar for the Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education, pre-kindergarten through 5th grade, and she selected Dr. Susie Besson Martellata as her faculty honoree. Our next honoree is Vanessa Melstead, and she is one of the Bagwell Scholars for the Bachelor's of Science in Early Childhood Education, pre-kindergarten through 5th grade program, and selected Dr. Jessica Hale as her faculty honoree. And congratulations to all of our early childhood education elementary individuals. Our next honoree will transition into middle grades education, and we'd like to congratulate Amy Nettleton as the Bagwell Scholar for the Bachelor's of Science in Middle Grades Education program, and her faculty honoree, Dr. Vince Kerwin. And for our final Bagwell Scholar at the undergraduate level, we would like to recognize Parker Young as the Bagwell Scholar for the Bachelor's of Science Education in Mathematics, who selected Dr. Brian Lawler as his faculty honoree. Congratulations. All right, let's give all of our undergraduates one more big round of applause. And I am pleased to now transition and introduce Dr. Tracy Reddish, who will introduce all of our master's levels Bagwell Scholars.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Tracy Reddish, and I'm the Interim Associate Dean for Strategic Partnerships and Priorities. I am pleased to introduce the next group of Bagwell Scholars. All Bagwell Scholars who are receiving a master's degree at commencement, please stand and form a line by the stairs to my right. And faculty honorees, please stand and form a line at the staircase to my left. When I call your names, please come on the stage to receive your award and have your photo made with the dean. Our first award winner, Nicole Mastroforte, is the Bagwell Scholar of the Master of Arts in Teaching program, and she selected Dr. Sherry Booker as her faculty honoree. Roseanne Capucin is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Arts in Teaching, TESOL, which stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, and Dr. Maria Montalvo is her faculty honoree. Carrie Trotter is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Educational Leadership. She selected Dr. Susan Banky as her faculty honoree. Katie Hawkins is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Elementary and Early Childhood Education, and her faculty honoree is Dr. Jinhee Kim. Ben Grassmeyer is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Instructional Technology. Unfortunately, he cannot be here today, but his faculty honoree, Dr. Jim Wright, is present. Osman Abdullahi is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Reading, and she selected Dr. Sanjuana Rodriguez as her faculty honoree. Kelsey Hawkins is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Secondary and Middle Grades Education, and her faculty honoree is Dr. Nicole Guillory. We should also say that Kelsey drove more than 4 hours to be with us today, so she probably should receive recognition as the person who came the farthest. Natalie Brooke Hagler is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Special Education, and she selected Dr. Joya Hicks as her faculty honoree. Anthony Smith is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in Teacher Leadership, and he selected Dr. Miyoshi Jurgensen as his faculty honoree. Unfortunately, they could not be with us today, but they are both very appreciative of this honor. Next, Christine Caspiary is the Bagwell Scholar for the Master of Education in TESOL, which stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, and her faculty honoree is Dr. Amanda Ritchie. That concludes the recognition of our master's level Bagwell Scholars. Dr. Yvonne Orenabellin will present the Bagwell Scholars receiving their Education Specialist and Education Doctorate degrees.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Ivan Jorin, and I'm the Interim Research Catalyst Associate Dean and Professor of Educational Research. I'm pleased to introduce the next group of Bagwell Scholars. All Bagwell Scholars who are in an Education Specialist program, please stand and form a line by the stairs to my right. Faculty being honored by these scholars, please form a line by the stairs to my left. When I call your names, please come forward to receive your award and have your photo made with Dean Epps. Kimberly Chambers is the Bagwell Scholar for the Education Specialist in Curriculum and Instruction. She has chosen Dr. Megan Adams as her faculty honoree. Ingrid Bailey is the Bagwell Scholar for the Education Specialist in Educational Leadership. Her faculty honoree is Dr. Susan Bank. Andrea Radford is the Bagwell Scholar for the Education Specialist in Instructional Technology. She chose Dr. Julie Moore as her faculty honoree. Ashley Thomas is the Bagwell Scholar for the Education Specialist in Instructional Technology Advanced Program. She selected Dr. Tiffany Roman as her faculty honoree. Alisa Noland is the Bagwell Scholar for the Education Specialist in Secondary and Middle Grades Education. She chose Dr. Rachel Gaines as her faculty honoree. That concludes our acknowledgement of the EDS scholars and the faculty they honored. Now it is time to honor our Bagwell scholars who have achieved the Education Doctorate. Please come forward to the stage to receive a special award, and EDD faculty honorees, please join us. Dr. Tuquan Taylor is the Bagwell Scholar for the Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership. He selected Dr. Cheryl Croft as his faculty honoree. Dr. Hilary Wilson, who is the Bagwell Scholar for the Doctor of Education in Instructional Technology, and her faculty honoree is Dr. Lori Diaz. They could not be here today, but we honor their achievement and wish them well. Dr. Nyasa Owens is the Bagwell Scholar for the Doctor of Education in Secondary and Middle Grades Education. She selected Dr. Ann Bennett as her faculty honoree. Dr. Erica Peak is the Bagwell Scholar for the Doctor of Education in Teacher Leadership. Her faculty honoree is Dr. Renise Jenseger. Thank you. Now I invite Dr. Osman Khan to come back to the podium to present the Outstanding Dissertation Award. Thank you.
You guys thought you got rid of me. The Outstanding Dissertation Award. Having been the recipient of the prestigious award, I'm honored on presenting this year. The Outstanding Dissertation Award is presented annually to former Bagwell College of Education student who has earned the education doctorate and whose dissertation exemplifies high-quality empirical educational research, informs educational policy and/or practice, and embodies the purpose of highly respected Bagwell College of Education degree. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Adeeb Shakir, the recipient of this year's award for the dissertation entitled An Exploration of the Mentoring Experiences of Elementary Assistant Principals Provided by Elementary Principals Within One Large Urban School District. We also honor the chair of Dr. Shakir's dissertation committee, Dr. Chinisa Alue. Please come forward to accept your award.
Let's give all of the honorees another round of applause, please. And now for the pinning. You received a lanyard that had a teacher's creed on it, and on the reverse side, it had the leader's creed. I'm gonna ask Dr. Kane and Gracie to both come forward. They're gonna lead us in the reading of this creed. One of the pieces that we're really trying to push and help you understand that there's a lot that comes with this, and you know this. Your commitment to this profession is desperately needed. As you read the teacher's creed and/or leader's creed, we hope it really resonates with you. We really want you to be tied to us as we help support you in our profession. So I'll ask Gracie to first read the teacher's creed, and then Dr. Kane will read the leader's creed.
All right, here we go. As a Bagwell College graduate, I am an exceptional teacher. I have the tools to ensure that every child I teach receives a quality education. I give every student the opportunity to experience success and pride in themselves, their school, and their community. I hold high expectations for all students and myself. I am an exceptional teacher. I demonstrate the highest integrity, fairness, and consistency in all my professional endeavors. I create an innovative learning environment that encourages growth and achievement for all students. I guide and honor my students in building self-confidence and instill a passion for lifelong learning. I am an exceptional teacher. I value the contributions of experienced educators. I will proudly share cutting-edge best practices with those who follow me. I am a proud graduate of the Bagwell College of Education. I change the world one student at a time. I am an exceptional teacher.
To drive home reinforcement, if all graduates will stand, let's see how well you can read in unison. Because you've heard it, now I need you to speak it. Please stand, all graduates, with your creed. Gracie, lead them again, please.
All right, here we go again.
Everyone.
As a Bagwell College graduate, I am an exceptional teacher. I have the tools to ensure that every child I teach receives a quality education. I give every student the opportunity to experience success and pride in themselves, their school, and their community. I hold high expectations for all students and myself. I am an exceptional teacher. I demonstrate the highest integrity, fairness, and consistency in all my professional endeavors. I create an innovative learning environment that encourages growth and achievement for all students. I guide and honor my students in building self-confidence and instill a passion for lifelong learning. I am an exceptional teacher. I value the contributions of experienced educators. I will proudly share cutting-edge best practices with those who follow me. I am a proud graduate of the Bagwell College of Education. I change the world one student at a time. I am an exceptional teacher.
Woo! Now for our Leaders' Creed, remain standing, because as teachers, some of you will have to inform some of your leaders of their roles and expectations. And so it needs to begin resonating with you as to what to expect of a leader as well. So would our leaders, including teacher leaders who are graduating, raise your hand. Raise them high. Thank you. All right, Dr. King.
Okay, so this is the Leaders' Creed. Ooh. As a Bagwell College graduate, I am an exceptional leader. I have the tools to support every teacher. I lead in ensuring every child taught receives a quality education. I create a school culture in which every faculty, staff, and student takes pride in themselves, their school, and their community. I hold high expectations for all, including myself. I am an exceptional leader. I demonstrate the highest integrity, fairness, and consistency in all my professional endeavors. I create an innovative learning environment that encourages growth and achievement for all students. I support the growth of my teachers. I value the contributions of experienced educators and will proudly share cutting-edge best practices with those who I lead. I am a proud graduate of the Bagwell College of Education. I change the world one student at a time. I am an exceptional leader. Second time now, y'all read with me. All right. As a Bagwell College graduate, I am an exceptional leader. I have the tools to support every teacher. I lead in ensuring every child taught receives a quality education. I create a school culture in which every faculty, staff, and student takes pride in themselves, their school, and their community. I hold high expectations, including myself. I'm an exceptional leader. I demonstrate the highest integrity, fairness, and consistency in all my professional endeavors. I create an innovative learning environment that encourages growth and all achievements for all students. I support the growth of my teachers. I value the contributions of experienced educators, and will proudly share cutting-edge best practices with those who I lead. I am a proud graduate of the Bagwell College of Education. I change the world one student at a time. I am an exceptional leader.
Awesome.
Good job.
Now for the pinning. You're not in this alone. And just as a symbolic gesture, turn to someone near you. You have your pen. Take them out, go ahead and take them out of the plastic. Take your lanyard that you received, if you'll put your lanyard around your neck. Find a partner, and if we have an odd number, we'll move around a little to find a partner. All right, if you would, please pin your neighbor through the lanyard or on a piece of their clothing if they wish to. But we thought the lanyard would be a representative sample. Connie, we need a student that did not receive a lanyard and a pen. Yeah, go with her. Yep. All right. I think we have everyone almost pinned. Okay. And we know we have one student. Congratulations. You're officially, from our standpoint, a Bagwell College graduate. Come on, we can do better than that. Let's celebrate. You may be seated. I'm going to call to the stage Dr. Pamela Cole, who serves as the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, and she's also a professor within the Bagwell College of Education. We've asked her to give some reflections from her experience and some points of encouragement for you, for your consideration. Dr. Cole?
Thank you, Dr. Epps. It's good to be here. I see some familiar faces. I see a lot of people that I don't know. You know, time does move forward. 41 years ago, I was sitting where the undergraduate students, where you're sitting now if you're an undergraduate student, not in this building, but at a graduation ceremony. When I graduated, I returned to my home community to be a teacher. I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, the very heart of the Appalachian Mountains, kind of in an off-beaten community. At that time, you wouldn't even find it on a map. And to give you somewhat of a visual, if you wanted to see the sky, the only way you could see the sky was to look straight up, because the valleys were so narrow and the mountains were so tall. Houses were built on the sides of the mountains, and the roads cut around the mountains like, imagine peeling an apple. The school that I taught in sat in one of these valleys. On one side of the school was a river. It was the Dismal River, and it ran black most of the time because this was a coal mining community, and it was the height of the coal industry. This county was one of the richest in the entire nation in terms of coal reserves. On the other side of the school was a road. And this is a road where coal trucks and, of course, cars passed daily, back and forth, hauling coal to the tipple that sat just north of the school from the mines that sat south or in other directions of the tipple. I remember one of the classrooms that I taught in. It was always hot in the springtime or fall. We'd always open the windows. You could pull them open. And in the wintertime, the building was heated with steam, so it had these radiators, old-fashioned radiators. And so we had the windows open during the wintertime, too. So when the sun would shine, you could see the coal coming through the windows, and it looked like diamonds coming through the dust, and the kids would try to catch it. And when it would land, of course, it would turn black, and we kept a bucket in the room sometimes during the worst of during the driest spells. And we had water in it, and we would have cleaning rags, we called them rags, cleaning cloths. And throughout the day, people would clean the desk off, tables off, whatever area seemed pretty dusty. And one of the things I remember the most are the sounds. The windows are open, you could hear all the trucks going by. It was like a symphony because all the trucks had a different sound, and all the kids knew those trucks, and they knew those drivers, and they knew the drivers, their nicknames. We would be sitting there reading Shakespeare, Chaucer, Edgar Allan Poe, and some kid in the room would say something like, Super Jaws is coming, I can hear him. Well, Super Jaws was my dad. He drove a truck. His truck had this unique sound of a Cummins engine, very smooth, with a real high, sweet whistle when the Jake brake would kick in. That was when he was empty most of the time. So the kids knew I was very meshed in the community, very much like the kids were. Another sound I remember the most a lot was a large boom, and the building would shake. And these were times when either there was dynamiting going on to loosen the coal from the mountain to break it loose, or when maybe pillars were being pulled. And pillars are support beams in the mine that hold the mine up while the miners are in there excavating the coal. And during this time, we all knew it was a dangerous time. We never really talked about it in class, but we could hear it and we could feel it. But one thing we knew for sure was when the trucks stopped, there was a problem when we couldn't hear them. I remember this one boy, his name was Billy. And Billy was the kind of kid, and I know you all have experienced this, and it's kind of sad, but when he wasn't at school, everybody knew, and teachers were happy. And that's kind of sad, but it's the one child that the teacher somehow just could not figure out how to work with, how to help. Billy came into my class late one day, and I made a mistake. And in front of all the other students, I said, where have you been? Billy called me a 5-letter word, pretty loud in that room. I'll let you all do some Scrabble and figure out that word. I was a very new teacher, and I was absolutely terrified. Now, in today's, 41 years ago, that was horrific, particularly in that community, because it's a very conservative community. I didn't know what to do. I was just really scared, but what I knew for sure was I had to do something. And so I asked him to hang back after school or after class, and I asked what I thought was a really weak question. I just said, hey, Billy, what's going on? He started to cry. His mom and dad had had a fight that morning. Because I was enmeshed in that community, and it was my community, I knew that Billy's mother was dying of cancer. I knew his dad was an alcoholic. I knew his sister was 12 years old and she was pregnant. I knew he had an older brother who had been killed in a car accident, and I knew he had another brother who was being teased because of his sexual identity. I told Billy that things would be better, which probably was a lie. I told him to go on down the hall. And I didn't punish him, I didn't do anything, but I remember watching him as he walked down the hall, this thin rail of a kid with brown hair cut real close to his head, and I wondered sometimes how his pants would stay on him, he was so little. And I thought, I'm gonna see what I can do to help this kid. So the next day when he came in class, I decided, well, okay, maybe I can give him some errands to run, some things to do. And I decided one of the things that he could do is he could take the lunch money to the office. He was also in my homeroom, and I had him pretty early in the morning. And you should have seen his face when I asked him to take the lunch money to the office. He was confused, and he questioned me as to why I would let him do that. Because he knew that I knew he had been a little thief in his lifetime. There had been times that, he would take things, people knew it. And I also knew if I had to pay it back, I could find some way to pay it back. But I wanted to try to help him. I wanted to try to encourage him. And so we developed this relationship where he would do these types of things in my room, and he would come in and help clean the room. When I was pregnant, he and some of the other boys called me outside, and they lowered a tailgate on a pickup. They had made in what we called trade school a cradle for my son. And I didn't have words for it. I still have that cradle. Billy taught me a lot about being a human being on this planet. He taught me a lot about responsibility. He taught me a lot about relationships, how important they are. It doesn't matter how many students you have in a classroom, doesn't matter how many teachers are under your supervision as a leader. You have a relationship with them, and as that teacher and as that leader, you get to decide what that relationship is like. He also taught me about not taking things personally. If I had taken that incident in a personal manner and jumped on him and fussed at him, I would have had a horrible year with him, and things would have just gone from bad to worse. I sometimes had teachers who would come to me, and they would say, Pam, how's Billy okay in your class, but he's not in my class? At that time, I didn't know. I didn't really have the language for it. But, as I got older and thought more about my experiences as a teacher, I realized that my classroom was the only safe space for that child. Everything else in his life was a war zone. So I tell you this story because there are going to be events in your life, moments in your life. They may be very brief, just like the day that Billy called me that name. And 40 years later, you're going to be reflecting and thinking about your career and your life and the things that you did, things you did well, maybe things you didn't do well. And there are going to be some stories like this. There are going to be some places of events and things that taught you things that taught you about how to be a better person, things that taught you about how to be a better teacher, better partner, better leader. So I encourage you to, as you go into your new jobs, to not be afraid of challenges, to not be afraid of these types of encounters you may have or experiences that you may have. I'll end with this one note. One of the greatest things he taught me how to listen. We hear a lot of people talk about, I'm going to go on a listening tour. Sometimes as leaders we do that when we take over a new area and we're going to go on a listening tour. When you do that, make sure it's a listening tour. Don't be playing on your phone. Don't be looking at your watch, thinking about you got to go to another meeting. Don't do any type of body movements or whatever that makes people think they don't have enough time for you. And make sure that you are listening and you are not talking. When you go on a listening tour, there's very little you should be saying. You might be asking questions, but the person you're listening to is the one who's doing the talking. So anyway, I think about Billy a lot. He was a very special child to me, and you all will have a lot of those moments too. So I really enjoyed being able to come and chat with you a couple minutes, or talk to you, not really chat, but to talk with you. And best wishes, and I know that Bagwell has created another class of exceptional teachers. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. You probably heard a little theme from Dr. Cole's reflections and Dr. Khan's reflections. Students need to know that you see them first. And that's an easy phrase to say. That's a lot of work. And how both of them have captured those aspects. And I guarantee you that's been reinforced through your experiences within the Bagwell College. Because when students know that you see them first, regardless of the context of their personal lives, they will rise to the standards that you set before them. Congratulations on being a Bagwell graduate. This comes with some additional responsibilities for you to go out and do the great work for our communities and for this country, because this is a service to our country. You're also expected to promote our profession amongst that captive audience that you have before you. Whether you're a pre-K teacher or whether you're teaching seniors in high school, we expect you to represent this profession well and to promote it well. We also have an expectation of you staying connected to us. Tomorrow when you cross that stage, if I have a chance to speak to you, particularly those undergraduates, those completing their masters and those completing their specialists, I'm going to say to you, come right back. We expect many of you to become double owls, triple owls, and a few quadruple owls, because you have work to do with us as well. While we influence you, you influence us. Many of you are leaders in our community, and we listen to you. This college exists to serve schools. That's our primary focus, and that's you. Let me conclude by thanking the committee that pulled this off. I know this was a little over an hour and 20 minutes or so, but a lot of work went into this. Connie Lane, is she still in here? She may have given it, there she is. Stand up, Connie. Margie and Dee are probably over getting prepared for the reception, but there are several others in the backdrop as well. This officially concludes our ceremony. You are encouraged to come over to the Bagwell building. We have a little food for you. We also want to hear some of your testimonies. On the second floor, please come up within the lobby area. We have a setup for you. We want to hear some of your stories. And we're also going to give you some additional little swag. You have some that you have around your neck, because we expect you to show this off, right? And let me just be honest. We're trying to send a message to your young people that Kennesaw State is the right place to come, right? So come pick up your swag. This officially concludes the pinning and honor ceremony. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.